The hot desert wind swept across the Sahara, carrying grains of sand that had hidden secrets for hundreds of thousands of years. Dr. James Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he studied the strange readings on his equipment. After 20 years of archaeological work, he had never seen anything like this. "Professor, you need to see this," called out Tom, one of his junior researchers. The young man stood at the edge of what looked like a perfectly circular depression in the sand, about 50 feet wide. Miller hurried over, his boots sinking slightly into the soft sand. The morning sun cast long shadows across the depression, revealing geometric patterns that no natural process could have created. His heart began to race as he realized this might be the discovery of his career. "Get the ground-penetrating radar," he ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. "And call base camp. We need the full team here." Within hours, the quiet dig site transformed into a hub of activity. Researchers rushed back and forth, carrying equipment and taking readings. The radar confirmed what Miller had suspected. There was something massive buried beneath the sand, something that didn't match any known ancient Egyptian or other human construction. As they carefully removed layers of sand, they uncovered a metallic surface that gleamed as if it had been polished yesterday. The material was unlike anything they had ever seen, with a faint bluish tint that seemed to shift in the sunlight. "This can't be right," muttered Dr. Anna Peters, their dating specialist, as she checked her equipment for the third time. "These readings suggest it's over 300,000 years old. That's impossible." Miller touched the surface of the structure. Despite the desert heat, it felt cool under his fingers. "In my experience, Anna, impossible just means we haven't understood it yet." The team worked tirelessly through the day, revealing more of the structure. By sunset, they had uncovered what appeared to be an entrance, a door-like rectangle set into the metallic surface, covered in strange symbols that resembled no known human writing system. "Look at this," Tom said, pointing his flashlight at a particular section of symbols. As the light hit them, they began to glow with a soft blue luminescence. "That's not normal." Miller approached the glowing symbols carefully. As he got closer, the glow intensified, and a low hum began to emanate from the structure. The sound grew stronger, and suddenly, lines of light began spreading across the entire surface like circuits coming to life. "Everyone, step back," Miller shouted, but he found himself unable to move. The humming reached a crescendo, and the door-like section simply vanished, revealing a dark passage into the structure. Cool air wafted out from the opening, carrying a faint metallic scent. Miller's flashlight beam revealed a corridor that descended at a gentle angle, its walls covered in the same shifting, bluish metal as the exterior. "Base camp, this is Miller." He spoke into his radio, his voice slightly shaking. "Contact the World Archaeological Council, and maybe the UN. We're going to need everyone for this." As the team cautiously entered the structure, lights began activating automatically, revealing a vast chamber filled with what could only be described as technology, but technology unlike anything humanity had ever created. At its center stood a console, its surface dark but somehow promising secrets beyond imagination. Tom whistled softly. "Prof, what do you think this is?" Miller stared at the ancient yet perfectly preserved installation, his mind racing with implications. "This, Tom, is either the greatest discovery in human history, or the beginning of something much bigger than all of us." The console suddenly flickered to life, projecting strange symbols into the air above it. As the team watched in amazement, the symbols began to transform, rearranging themselves into recognizable letters. GENTIC verification, CONFIRMED. Initiating global network activation. In that moment, beneath the Saharan sands, humanity's destiny began to change forever. Within 24 hours of the Sahara discovery, similar structures activated across the globe. Ancient sites in the Amazon rainforest, beneath the ice of Antarctica, and deep in the Pacific Ocean, began emitting the same mysterious blue light. The world's governments scrambled to respond as news channels broadcast images of massive structures emerging from the Earth. Dr. Miller stood in the United Nations Emergency Council chamber, his hands gripping the podium as he addressed the gathered leaders. The bags under his eyes showed he hadn't slept since the discovery. "The structures are all identical in design," he explained, pointing to the images projected behind him. "And they're all responding to human presence in exactly the same way." A representative from Russia raised his hand. "Are they dangerous? Should we be evacuating nearby cities?" Before Miller could answer, his phone buzzed. He looked down at the message from Tom, still at the Sahara site, and his eyes widened. "Something's happening. We need to switch to the live feed from the main chamber." The projection changed to show the interior of the Sahara structure. The console at its center was now projecting a massive hologram that filled the chamber. As they watched, similar images appeared on screens showing the other sites worldwide. A figure materialized in the hologram, tall, humanoid, but clearly not human. Its form seemed to be made of shifting light, and when it spoke, its words were somehow understood by everyone, regardless of their native language. "To our descendants," the figure began, its voice carrying both warmth and authority. "If you are receiving this message, you have reached the developmental stage we designated as Achievement Point Alpha. We are the Forerunners, and you are our chosen inheritors." The chamber erupted in murmurs, but fell silent as the figure continued. "Long ago, our civilization faced a choice: transcend our physical form to join the greater cosmic consciousness, or remain as guardians of this galaxy. We chose transcendence, but we could not leave this realm unprotected. And so we created you." Images appeared showing early humans being genetically modified, guided, and watched over by these beings of light. "Your species was carefully engineered, not just physically, but culturally. Every test you faced, every challenge you overcame, was part of our grand design. Your creativity, your resilience, your endless drive to explore and understand. These are the traits we cultivated, the traits that make you worthy of our legacy." Miller watched as the hologram showed scenes from human history, the invention of fire, the first cities, the moon landing, all apparently observed and subtly guided by these ancient beings. "But you are not merely our creation," the figure continued. "You have grown into something uniquely your own. Your art, your music, your capacity for both logic and emotion. These are achievements beyond our original design. You have exceeded our expectations." The hologram shifted, revealing complex technical schematics and star maps. "Within these networks, you will find the knowledge of our civilization. Faster than light travel, energy manipulation, planetary engineering. But more importantly, you will find our mission: to protect and nurture life throughout the galaxy." Several military leaders leaned forward at the mention of advanced technology, but the figure's next words gave them pause. "However, you are not alone in the cosmos. Other civilizations exist, some of which may challenge your claim to this legacy. Your worthiness will be tested. How you face these challenges will determine not just your fate, but the fate of countless worlds under your protection." The hologram began to fade, but the figure had one final message: "Choose wisely, children of Earth. The power we leave you can create paradise or destroy worlds. Remember, you were engineered not to conquer, but to preserve and protect. The galaxy is now your inheritance and your responsibility." As the hologram disappeared, the chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the implications began to sink in. Humanity had just inherited the keys to the galaxy, and all the responsibilities that came with them. 3 months after the Forerunner message, the Sahara facility had transformed into a bustling research center. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, trying to understand the vast library of knowledge they had inherited. Captain Robert Hayes walked through the facility's corridors, still amazed by how the ancient metal walls seemed to glow with their own inner light. He found Dr. Miller in the main chamber, studying a holographic display of what looked like an engine design. The archaeologist had barely left the facility since the discovery, and it showed in his tired but excited expression. "Any progress?" Hayes asked, coming to stand beside him. Miller nodded, manipulating the hologram with practiced gestures. "We finally decoded their faster-than-light drive designs. It's beautiful in its simplicity. They didn't break the laws of physics. They found a way to work with them. Can we build it with our current technology?" Miller enlarged a section of the design. "Yes, that's the amazing thing. The Forerunners left us knowledge we can actually use, not just theory. They designed everything to be accessible to our level of technology." Before Hayes could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed as security teams rushed to their stations. Both men hurried to the control room, where screens showed a massive object decelerating as it entered Earth's atmosphere. "First contact," Hayes muttered, straightening his uniform. "Sooner than we expected." The object was a ship, sleek and silver, about the size of an aircraft carrier. It came to a halt high above the Sahara facility, hovering silently. Within minutes, similar reports came in from other Forerunner sites worldwide. More ships had arrived. "They're sending a transmission," announced Dr. Anna Peters, who had become their lead communications expert. She pressed several controls on the console, and a new hologram appeared. The alien that materialized looked almost like a tall human, except for its metallic-looking skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. When it spoke, the Forerunner technology automatically translated. "Greetings, inheritors," the alien said, its tone neutral. "I am Representative Tal of the Galactic Council. We have come to verify your claim." Miller stepped forward. "We have received the Forerunner legacy." Their message was clear about their intentions. "Many species have claimed to be the chosen inheritors," Tal replied. "Some tried to use Forerunner technology to dominate others. We must ensure you understand the responsibility you have been given." Hayes joined the conversation. "We're still learning. But we know this legacy isn't just about power. It's about protection and growth." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Pretty words. But we require proof. The Galactic Council has authorized me to offer assistance in your development. Under supervision, of course." "Supervision?" Hayes frowned. "Did you think we would allow an unproven species immediate access to technology that could destroy worlds?" Tal's expression was unreadable. "We will guide your advancement, help you avoid mistakes." Miller and Hayes exchanged glances. The offer seemed reasonable, but something felt off about the alien's tone. "There is one other matter," Tal continued. "Our scans detect multiple active weapon systems being developed from Forerunner designs. This is concerning." "Defensive systems only," Hayes explained. "We'd be foolish not to protect ourselves. Nevertheless, we request that all military applications of Forerunner technology cease immediately. For everyone's safety, you understand." The room grew tense as the implications sank in. Humanity was being offered help, but at the cost of their independence. The legacy was theirs, but others wanted to control how they used it. "We'll need time to discuss this with our leaders," Miller said carefully. "Of course." Tal's hologram smiled in a way that didn't reach its eyes. "But do not take too long. The galaxy is watching, young inheritors. Show us you are worthy of the power you have been given." As the hologram faded, Hayes turned to Miller. "They're afraid of us." Miller nodded slowly. "Yes. The question is, should they be?" 1 week after the arrival of the Galactic Council ships, Earth's leaders gathered in the Sahara facility's newly constructed meeting chamber. The room buzzed with tension as Representative Tal's hologram appeared again, this time accompanied by 3 other alien figures. "We have reviewed your response to our offer," Tal announced, their 4 eyes focusing on the assembled humans. "Your refusal of direct supervision is unfortunate." Admiral Thompson, Earth's chosen spokesperson, stood firm. "We appreciate the Council's concern, But we won't surrender our independence. The Forerunners chose us as their heirs. We've earned the right to find our own path. The alien to Tal's right, a being that seemed to be made of crystalline structures, spoke next. Perhaps, but history tells a darker tale. 2 centuries ago, another species claimed the same right. They used Forerunner weapons to burn 3 worlds before we stopped them. Images appeared in the air. Planets turned to ash and ruin. The room fell silent. We propose an alternative, Tal continued. 3 trials. Ancient tests left by the Forerunners themselves. Pass them, and we will recognize your full rights as inheritors. Dr. Miller stepped forward. And if we refuse, then we will have no choice but to quarantine your system, for the safety of all. The human leaders exchanged glances. Everyone understood the implied threat. Accept the trials or be cut off from the stars. Tell us about these trials, Hayes requested, his voice steady. A new hologram appeared, showing 3 distinct challenges. Tal pointed to each in turn. First, the trial of wisdom. You must solve a puzzle left in the Great Archive, proving you can understand Forerunner technology and its ethical implications. The crystal being continued. Second, the trial of creation. You will be given a dead world. Show us you can bring life to it without destroying its natural balance. The third alien, who looked almost like a living shadow, spoke in a whisper that somehow carried through the room. Finally, the trial of peace. Resolve a conflict that has plagued 2 species for generations. Show us you can be diplomats as well as warriors. Admiral Thompson stood up straighter. And if we pass these trials, then you will have proven yourselves worthy successors, Tal replied. You will gain full access to the legacy and a seat on the Galactic Council. And if we fail, all 4 of Tal's eyes blinked at once. Then you will surrender all Forerunner technology to Council control. For everyone's protection, of course. Miller studied the holograms carefully. These trials, they seem designed to test more than just our capabilities. Indeed, the crystal being's voice chimed like bells. They will test your wisdom, your restraint, and your understanding of power's true purpose. You have 3 Earth months to prepare, Tal announced. Choose your champions wisely. They will determine the fate of your species. After the alien holograms faded, the room erupted in debate. Some leaders wanted to refuse the trials, others to accept immediately. But Hayes noticed Miller standing quietly, lost in thought. What are you thinking, Doctor? Miller looked up, his expression troubled. Something doesn't add up. Why are they so interested in controlling how we use the legacy? The Forerunners chose us. Shouldn't the Council respect that choice? You think there's more to these trials than they're telling us. I think, Miller said carefully, that we're playing a game whose real rules we don't yet understand. Admiral Thompson joined them, her face determined. Then we'd better figure them out fast. We have 3 months to prepare for trials that will determine humanity's future. The real question is, who do we trust to represent us? Hayes looked around the room at the arguing leaders, then back at the spot where the alien holograms had stood. Maybe the first trial has already begun. Maybe they're watching how we handle this decision. Miller nodded slowly. Then let's show them something they don't expect. Let's show them how humanity faces a challenge. The Great Archive floated in space like a giant crystal cube, its surface reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, Dr. Miller, Captain Hayes, and their team faced the first trial. The Archive's main chamber contained a massive holographic puzzle, a 3-dimensional maze of light and energy. Remember, Miller told his team, this isn't just about finding the right path. It's about choosing the right way to find it. The puzzle showed a star system with a dying sun. Forerunner technology could save it, but each solution had consequences. Making the star stable would save billions of lives, but the energy required would drain resources from other systems. Hayes watched as Miller worked through the problem. We don't have to sacrifice anyone, Miller said suddenly. Look, we can create a network. Share the energy burden across multiple systems. Everyone gives a little. Everyone survives. The maze shifted, revealing new paths. The council observers watched silently as humanity passed their first test, not by showing power, but by showing compassion. The second trial brought them to a dead world. Its surface was red dust and bare rock, its atmosphere thin and poisonous. The team had 1 month to bring life to this wasteland. "We could terraform it quickly," one scientist suggested, pointing to the Forerunner devices they'd been given. "Full atmosphere in a week, oceans in 2. But Miller shook his head. "No, quick isn't always right. Look at Earth's history. Life needs time to find balance." They worked slowly, carefully. First bacteria to enrich the soil, then simple plants to build the atmosphere. Each step was small, but each step was sure. The council members watched as humans worked with nature instead of forcing it to change. "Life finds a way," Miller said, watching the first green shoots break through red soil. "Our job is to help it, not command it." The final trial proved the hardest. 2 alien species, the Var and the Keth, had fought over a chain of stellar colonies for centuries. Neither would back down, and both claimed their cause was just. "We can't solve this with force," Hayes said, studying the situation. "And we can't solve it by picking a side." Miller spent days talking to both species, learning their history, understanding their needs. He discovered that their conflict wasn't really about territory. It was about fear. Each species thought they needed the colonies to survive. "What if," Miller proposed to both sides, "we showed you how to prosper without fighting?" The Forerunner legacy isn't just about technology. It's about growth, about finding new ways to live. Using the knowledge they'd gained, the human team showed both species how to create sustainable colonies in new systems. They taught them to build instead of fight, to grow instead of destroy. As the third trial ended, Representative Tal approached Miller. "You surprised us, humans. Each trial had a simple solution: use power to force change. Yet you chose harder paths." "The easy path isn't always the right one," Miller replied. "The Forerunners didn't just give us technology. They gave us responsibility." "Perhaps," Tal said slowly, "you understand their legacy better than we thought. But tell me, how did you know to seek these particular solutions?" Hayes noticed something odd in Tal's tone. "What do you mean?" "These trials," Tal continued, "have been attempted 17 times by different species. None chose the paths you did. None even saw them as options." Miller felt a chill as he realized what Tal was saying. These weren't just tests of our abilities, were they? They were tests of our choices. Indeed, Tal's 4 eyes seemed to look right through him. "And now we must discuss what your choices have revealed. About you, about us, and about the true purpose of the Forerunner legacy." After completing the trials, Miller couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He sat in the Sahara facility's library, reviewing holographic records of previous species who had claimed the Forerunner legacy. Each record ended the same way: failure and submission to council control. "Dr. Miller." Tom burst into the room, out of breath. "We found something in the deep archives. You need to see this now." In the main chamber, Anna Peters had managed to unlock a hidden layer of the Forerunner message system. A new hologram flickered to life, the same glowing figure from the first message, but this time its tone was urgent. "If you are seeing this message, you have done what no other species has accomplished," the Forerunner began. "You have seen beyond power to understanding. Now you must know the truth." Captain Hayes and Admiral Thompson arrived just as the message continued. The hologram showed the Galactic Council, but from thousands of years ago. They looked different, younger, but it was clearly the same species. "The Council are not guardians of our legacy. They are its first failed inheritors," the Forerunner revealed. "When we chose them, they proved themselves unable to look beyond their own power. They sought to control rather than protect, to rule rather than guide." Miller's hands tightened into fists as the truth became clear. The hologram showed scenes of the Council using Forerunner technology to dominate other species, twisting the legacy's purpose. We could not allow this, the ancient being continued. We created a failsafe. The trials you have just faced. The Council failed these tests, showing their true nature. We stripped them of their full access to our technology, leaving them with only fragments of our knowledge. That's why they want to control us, Hayes said quietly. They're afraid we'll succeed where they failed. The message continued. For millennia, they have prevented other species from claiming their rightful inheritance. Each time a potential heir arose, the Council would force them to face the trials, knowing they would guide them toward failure. But you have broken this cycle. Admiral Thompson shook her head in disbelief. All this time, they've been sabotaging potential heirs to maintain their power. Your success presents both danger and opportunity, the Forerunner warned. The Council will not easily accept another inheritor. They may respond with force, but you have proven yourselves worthy of the full legacy, not just its technology, but its true purpose. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Outside, Council ships were taking aggressive positions around Earth's defense platforms. They know we found out the truth, Miller realized. Representative Tal's hologram appeared, but this time there was no diplomatic facade. You've accessed restricted archives, they said coldly. This is a violation of Council law. No, Miller stood tall. This is proof of your deception. You're not testing us for the Council. You're afraid we'll succeed where you failed. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for thousands of years. Tal's voice grew harsh. We will not let children with borrowed power threaten that peace. Peace through control isn't peace at all, Hayes responded. The Forerunners wanted protectors, not rulers. Then you leave us no choice, Tal declared. Surrender your access to the legacy, or we will take it by force. You have 1 hour to decide. As the hologram vanished, the team looked at each other. The truth was out, but now they faced their greatest challenge, standing up to those who had deceived the galaxy for millennia. Miller turned to his companions. The real test isn't over. It's just beginning. The question is, how do we prove we're different from them? How do we show we understand what the Forerunners really wanted? The Council's warships hung in Earth's orbit like dark stars, weapons primed and ready. Humanity had only minutes left before their ultimatum expired. In the Sahara facility's command center, Dr. Miller worked frantically at the main console, while Captain Hayes coordinated with Earth's defense forces. We can't fight them directly, Miller said, his fingers flying over the holographic controls. They have centuries more experience with Forerunner technology. Then what's your plan? Admiral Thompson asked, watching the enemy ships on the main screen. Miller looked up, his eyes bright with sudden understanding. We do what made us different from them in the first place. We share. He activated the global communication system, but instead of targeting just the Council ships, he broadcast to every species in range. The holographic message spread across the galaxy, showing the truth they had discovered. To all sentient beings, Miller began, his voice carried by Forerunner technology, to thousands of worlds. We are humanity, and we've discovered something that belongs to all of us. The broadcast showed the hidden message about the Council's deception, but also displayed humanity's solutions to the 3 trials. The Forerunners didn't want rulers, Miller continued. They wanted guides, protectors, teachers. They wanted us all to grow together. On the Council ships, confusion spread as their own crews watched the message. Representative Tal's voice cut through the broadcast, angry and sharp. This is forbidden. You have no right. We have every right, Hayes interrupted. And we're offering something you never did, a choice. Miller activated the final part of his plan. The Forerunner sites worldwide lit up, connecting in a network that stretched to the stars. The legacy isn't meant to be controlled by one species, he announced. Today, we're sharing access to the basic archive with every spacefaring civilization. Knowledge that can help us all. Medical technology, environmental restoration, renewable energy. This is madness. Tal raged. You'll destroy the order we've maintained for millennia. No, Admiral Thompson replied calmly. We're creating a new order. One based on cooperation, not control. The effect was immediate. Alien ships began appearing in the system, not to attack, but to witness. Species that had been kept apart by council law started communicating, sharing their own stories of suppression and control. The council ships powered up their weapons, but found themselves surrounded not just by Earth's defenses, but by vessels from a dozen other civilizations. Tal's hologram appeared one last time, its 4 eyes narrow with fury. You don't understand what you've done, they warned. Without control, there will be chaos. Without change, there's only stagnation, Miller responded. The Forerunners didn't want us to remain children forever, afraid to take responsibility for ourselves. They wanted us to grow up, all of us. As if in response to his words, the Forerunner network pulsed with brilliant light. New archives unlocked, revealing deeper knowledge, not weapons or tools of control, but technologies for cooperation, for healing worlds, for bringing species together. The real legacy, Miller realized, was never about the technology. It was about understanding how to use it wisely. In the days that followed, the Council's grip on power crumbled, not through war or violence, but through choice. Species after species chose cooperation over control, learning over limitation. A new galactic community began to form, with Earth as one voice among many. 1 month later, Miller stood with Hayes and Thompson in the Sahara facility, watching ships from 100 worlds come together for the first Galactic Congress. You know, Hayes said with a smile, when we first found this place, I thought we were inheriting power, but we inherited something better. Miller nodded, watching the diverse species working together, sharing knowledge, building something new. We inherited understanding. And that's worth more than all the power in the galaxy. Above them, the stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the Forerunners themselves were watching their children finally come together, ready to face the future as one.